such a bad guy.
Yeah, he's just so clever at finding other people's dark weak spots. You know?
Yeah.
He had the experience of finding it with Anakin, and now he transfers it to the son.
It was like you backstage with the croissants, and you got that last one for me, and I wanted it, and then you talked me out. I felt, gosh, but somehow I feel okay about it. Now, so how do you approach acting, just in general? Do you look at it very much from that, you know, okay, this is just acting and completely separate, or do you get into it more internally?
You sort of, it's a difficult question to answer, because there's quite a bit of your internal self in it, and if there weren't really, I think you probably wouldn't be convinced by it. And it's not just observing other people. In a sense, you've got to go to, and having a deep voice in that help, you have to dig deep. You know, you just sort of, but oddly enough, once having established that voice, it sort of took me there. And that's often how acting can happen. You know, you hit on something you think's right, and before you know where you are, something else is happening at the same time. But I don't do, if I'm going to do a part soon where I have, because he was a famous person, he's a famous scientist, Galileo, so I have to do some research there. I have to learn about the science and learn a bit about his times and the man, and I'll do a bit of that. But mainly what I'll do is read the script a lot of times. Anthony Hopkins says that's the best advice, and he's right, to an actor. It's just read it and learn it, and get it into your skin, into your blood, so that it's immediately available to you, just as your ordinary speaking voice is, and you can go anywhere with it. Because really, when you get in front of an audience, or certainly when you get in front of a camera with very little preparation time, anything can happen, and that's good. So then, but if you have the confidence of the sound base of actually knowing the words really well, then you can let accidents happen, and I think that's often when the best acting occurs. Of course, the people who occasion accidents often are your fellow actors. They make you think and listen in ways that you hadn't imagined, and when that's happening, when that's cooking, then the whole project cooks.
And so how old were you when you began acting? Was it on stage?
I was, when I was a kid at school, I hadn't thought about it at all, except the end of term, primary 7, how old would I be then? 11, 10, 11. And the school had decided, the class had decided to perform the Australian song, Waltzing Matilda, which is about a tramp, a sheep diving into a well, roughly. And the choir was going to sing it great, and they wanted someone to do the mime of the tramp. And they said they were going to audition. That word was put up on the board, a new word. We all went, all right, what does that mean? Well, anybody who would like to audition, would like to try for this part, we're going to do it on Friday morning. So have a think about it, come in with something. And hands up now, all of those who might be interested. And I found, because I was quite a shy kid, still quite a shy kid, my arm sort of shot up. Did I do that? And they went, okay. And then when it came to my turn to do it, I found I was doing something, and that I enjoyed it, and I got the part. So that's sort of when it started. But the first thing that gave me a taste for it was when I was 5, and I was taking a theatre in Dundee, where I grew up, called the Palace Theatre, where they used to have variety shows. You call them vaudeville, you know, lots of acts. And I didn't know anything about it, except my uncle was the stage manager, so he got us free tickets. And I remember my dad and mum, 5 years old, not bad, discussing whether or not it was suitable to take me. Anyway, they obviously decided to. So I went along to this magic place in the dark, sitting as you are now, with red curtains. I remember the red curtain. And the orchestra started, but I didn't know it was an orchestra. I just saw a man's hands and his head sort of going like that. And this sound coming up. And then the red curtains parted and dancers came on. I didn't really know much about dancing. And every time their feet hit the stage, this sort of ting happened. Of course, that was the man on the cymbals, you know. But I thought they were making that happen. I thought, these people make all that noise. This is absolutely extraordinary. And then the comic came on with kind of lighting, because they had lots of footlights in those days. You had to wear a lot of makeup, you know, do heavy eyeliner and things like that. Anyway, I didn't understand anything he was saying. I was only 5 years old. But I was taken backstage to meet him, because the stage manager said he was coming to meet the star. And so I was terrified, but I met him and he was charming. His name was Tommy Morgan. He was charming to me, very nice, but also terrifying, because he hadn't taken off his makeup, he was just about to. And I saw this man in this very seemingly grotesque makeup, smiling at me. And I was both fascinated by it and repelled. So it was, I think, from then on, in an odd way, I was hooked. And it was that and Waltzing Matilda, I think, made me realise, not that I wanted to become an actor, so much as that I was an actor.
That's beautiful, though. And also, it's great because the Emperor has now done that for kids too, where they there's a yin and a yang there. Well, you know, I have been very fortunate to get to ask you some of these questions, but I'm wondering if you would be so kind as to let us take the questions now out to the, as I call the Jedi Council here. In a little bit, we call.
And now, questions from the Council.
So, if anyone has questions for Ian McDiarmid, we have Mark and Elliot out there ready. And Mark, I see you see someone there?
Yeah, I see a young lady raising her hand over here, walking over to her.
Okay.
Come on out to the end. All right.
First of all, Ian, I think you deserve a knighthood because you are brilliant at acting. And second of all, I'd just like to know, what was your favorite part of acting in Star Wars? Was it meeting everyone, or was it getting to be this iconic character that people are going to recognize for generations?
Well, it was all of these things, really. And thank you for wishing the knighthood upon me. But, you know, when you've got an imperial crown, you really
Okay, Elliot, you're way up there, yeah?
That is
way up at the
correct.
top. All right,
I'm up here with my new friend Frankie. Frankie.
I was just wondering, if the live-action series was to go ahead, would you be willing to reprise your role as Palpatine again? Or the Emperor?
Well, of course, George would have to go down on his bended knees. Well, what do you think? Palpatine would be in it. It could be the same as New Hope, as the first movie. There could be a terrific representative of the Emperor. And by God, Peter Cushing was a brilliant actor. Out there doing the Emperor's bidding, but if he happened to pop up in the script, I would hate it if I was still alive and someone else did it.
Wow, all right. Well,
Hey, I asked someone else to do the question really quick.
oh, okay, very good.
I am actually speaking in this very theatre tomorrow at 1:30.
Shameless plug.
Will you be joining me?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I may be signing some things elsewhere. So, of course, I'm so glad that you'll be here. All of these people will be coming to see you.
Yes, they will. Will you?
Well done, Ian. And yes, I'm looking forward to your night tour.
We are looking forward to your show, sir. We will all be there with bells on. Yes, in gold, of course. Wonderful. Wow. What a surprise. What a treat. Thank you, sir. Yes, Mark, you have another one?
Yes, I do. I have Devin, a member of the 501st.
I'm only a couple of weeks fresh, but about $1,000 into armor, I think it's worth it. I was more nervous than anything right now, but I was wanting to know, between the two different sets of makeup in Episode 3 and Return of the Jedi, obviously I'm sure one was easier to put on than the other, which is technology, but between the two differences, you see more color in Episode 3, obviously he's got a lot older and weaker by Revenge of the Sith. Did you feel that the character shone through more in one or the other? Did you find you felt more evil in one or the other? Or Just did you physically like the appearance of the new one as opposed to the old one? I feel the old one has less prosthetic look, not in a bad way, but I feel it keeps you looking that much younger in this new one and separated from the old one.
Yes, I know what you mean. The second one was easier to get on. It took about half the time. And the foundation of it was a sort of balaclava that I pulled over my head, rather than spending a lot of time building it up. And yes, and if I had to choose, I preferred the first one, really because of the detail that Nick brought to it. But in terms of evil, I think I felt most evil when I was playing the senator, because he was so recognizable as a contemporary politician.
I've seen some of his commercials on lately too. So okay, so where are we? Elliot, you up there again? Okay.
I've got Robert here.
Okay.
First of all, Mr. McDiarmid, it's an absolute honor to be speaking to you right now. Star Wars is just such a huge part of my life, and as a kid, it opened up my imagination, and you were a part of that, so thank you. So my question is, as a man of the theater, and as we all know, your performance in Return of the Jedi was just so organic and full of life. How much, if any, improvisation did you inject into the performance, or did Lucas allow you to work into that?
No, the script as written was the script as spoken. There might have been the odd word here and there. I said, it might be easier if I said that rather than the other. George would usually go, okay. But in a sense, it always has to be laid down, because there are so many technological decisions taken in advance, and the words are also cues for the technicians who may already be working on the process of the film. So by and large, the script you get is the script you perform. But as I said earlier, knowing that that's what you've got to say, and just thinking sometimes it's quite simple, you can find key words and key directions in which to go.
Excellent, thank you, sir. All right, Mark, you got it.
Troy, what is your question?
Yes, I always want to know what it was like to be in Return of the Jedi and then kind of go on with life doing theater work and then come back to it years down the line. What was that like?
Well, it seemed like the second stroke of luck, really. As I said, the first one was out of the blue. Somebody couldn't take the lenses, so I got the chance to play the part. And then George decided to go back in time and tell the story of Ada, and I was the right age, so I was there. And all of that was sort of luck. Once I got the part, I had to make it go and prove that the character was sufficiently interesting and all the rest of it. But the interim period, of course, I didn't know, and George hadn't made up his mind. I know he was waiting for the technology to improve and so on, whether he would go ahead with sequels, prequels, or anything else. And I'd also thought, Jedi was such a terrific film and so on, I can't expect that kind of luck to happen again. And I was with another colleague running a theatre in London, and that was taking up all of my thoughts and all of my energy at the time. So when it came up, I seemed doubly blessed, because being at Leavesden, I could still run the theatre, which wasn't too far away, and go and do the movie. And then with Attack of the Clones, because I didn't have too much to do, I was able to do the scenes in a contained way and get back to the theatre. And then for the last film, what I had a lot to do, I'd given up the theatre after running it for 13 years. And the best thing that could possibly happen to me was 3.5 months in Australia with a great cast and crew. And with the evil genius finally being exposed for what he was, and telling that story that you heard earlier this evening.
Wonderful, wonderful. Elliot, I believe I see you up there with someone, yes?
Yes, I have Harris.
Hello, Ian.
Hi.
First of all, I just want to say that I'm a theater major at college, and I consider you one of my biggest inspirations for my acting.
Thank you.
I just want to ask, when people come to you and say that they felt inspired by your performance, either by Palpatine or some other role you've done, Do you feel like that you've done a better job than you had first thought of when you were approaching a role?
Well, I thought that it's so interesting, these kind of movies, because in a sense, you know, they're fairly black and white characters, and of course, Sidious is the blackest of all. But I suppose I was just interested in finding a character, being asked to play a character that needed such broad strokes. It wasn't apparently human, although he is, we discovered later, Siths are human. That could behave in an unusual way, and that I could start with a very strong palette, and then maybe feed in stuff here and there. But if I'd known, actually, the backstory, the history of Palpatine when I did Return of the Jedi, I probably would have played it differently. And I don't think that would necessarily have been a good idea. Because when I went to see it again, with all the knowledge that I later had of the character in my mind, I thought, well, there probably wasn't much that I would have changed or done differently. Because the premise is the same. But it's I suppose the thing that amuses me and pleases me most of all is that in terms of screen history and movies in general, I am the most evil thing that ever walked. That's only because I sort of gave birth to this person who, up until the end of the prequels, everyone thought was the most evil thing that ever walked, and that was Darth Vader. And subsequently we found out, of course, that he'd been turned.
And do you enjoy seeing your work?
No, I don't. I'm quite enjoying it this afternoon, but it's always, because you always see the things that you think, oh God, if only I'd done this, or why did they choose that scene, that cut, you know. But no, it doesn't really give me pleasure, but it gives me pleasure that it gives other people pleasure.
That's wonderful. Yes. I see we have one there, Mark, yes?
James, I have a 10-year-old to me. So what's your question to me?
If you had to pick a favorite actor on the set, who would it be?
On the set, oh, that's different. They'll all be this fella.
Yeah. I think Anthony might still be up here.
Well, I won't pick Ewan because he's a Scot, so that doesn't I thought of them all. I had such a good time with them all, and I had a great time with Hayden, really. You know, while seducing him to the dark side on screen, and finding I made a good pal off screen was a good time, and it was, and he was the actor I suppose I had to work with in most detail, and we had a very good rapport, and I think in some quarters his performance is greatly underrated. I really liked it.
I think that we have really just had a wonderful time here with you, and we just appreciate it. So I think we are going to wrap our questions from the council now, and we give that a little flourish.
This has been questions from the council.
What do you think of that voice over there? Was that not bad?
That was
No, that was, yeah.
You are extraordinary.
All right, thanks.
You did a bit of me in the introduction, did you? I was pacing nervously, but I suddenly stopped. I thought, God.
No, I did a transformer, maybe that was what it was.
Okay.
But now, speaking of you doing that, we do a little bit here where, you know, everybody's been taking pictures and all, and there's all these pictures, but most of them are just you and I just, you know, talking, and then some, you know, and maybe this.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be fun if we kind of mocked a photo of like a memorable moment, so everybody can get their cameras ready. And we have a little something here that we call, it's a Celebration 6 phony photo memory. It's a phony photo memory. Okay. So now we can pose, however, and then you all get your cameras ready. So I thought maybe it'd be fun if you were force choking me. Force choking. So
I see, okay.
You could just even the pinky if you wanted, and then I'll react, and then you just snap away here, folks.
Yeah.
So this will be like your, remember when Ian McDiarmid killed James Arnold Taylor on stage? So you just...
I tried a little force choking when I came on with all of you, and it didn't work, but I'll do my best.
Give it a shot. Oh my, you know, if you did this, everybody has Photoshop nowadays. They can put the lightning bolts in too, so that would be fun. Okay, so you go ahead whenever you want.
Okay, stand by and
Okay.
to add
Yeah,
this
prepare.
stuff.
Prepare. Do whatever you need.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want me to really hate you? I mean, are you serious, anime?
Well, I am Obi-Wan
just some
Kenobi.
guy who gets in the way.
Imagine Obi-Wan Kenobi as a short man that looks like David Spade. That's pretty much me. So there you go. Yeah.
That's easy.